everybody, Cinema Sickness here with your daily sickness video, and happy Tuesday to each and every one of you. And as always, hope you're having a great day and a great week thus far. Thank you guys for all your kind words after yesterday getting a little bit of frustration off my chest with all just the stuff around the house that's been going down. Sewer line still not fixed. I'm hoping by the end of the week. Kind of double-edged sword with having this insurance on the sewer line is that the company just the plumbing company can't just come out and fix it. They have to like submit a claim, and then the claim has to be approved, and then they can come out. So there's like a middleman involved, and it takes longer. So I'm paying less. Awesome. It's only going to cost me $50 to get my sewer line fixed, but it's going to take like twice as long. I don't know which one's worse. It's kind of both annoying. But anyway, thank you guys for all your well wishes. So, all right, let's get down to today's daily sickness video. And we got some reviews here, guys. Recently watched a ton of great stuff, and we're going to take a look at everything I recently checked out. And as always, I'll just give my very quick, brief thoughts on them because I am not a reviewer. I do not consider myself a reviewer. I never have. But you guys like hearing what I think about movies, so let's take a look at them. So first up, very excited to check this out. That is The Trouble with Angels, starring the beautiful Hayley Mills. Very cool. Really wanted to watch this one simply because I just watched the sequel a couple weeks ago. I watched Where Angels Go, Trouble Follows, and I already explained why I watched them backwards. I picked up that movie like a couple days later. A friend at work, she started talking about, oh, there's this movie where they shot like stuff in the, they shot a bunch of it like in this area, and we started talking about it, and I was like, what movie is she talking about? I looked it up, it was that movie, and I was like, well, I really want to see this movie now with all this stuff shot in the area. I'm very intrigued, and I'm like, I don't know when I'll ever get a hold of The Trouble with Angels, so screw it. I don't usually watch movies out of order, but I'm just going to do it. I'm going to watch it, and I loved it. Thought it was great. 2 weeks later, I come across a copy of The Trouble with Angels. Of course, I should just waited. Then I could have watched them in order. But it doesn't really matter. You don't really need to watch movies in order, as they don't necessarily follow any order other than Roz and Russell being in both movies. That's about it. They take place in the same school and stuff. Otherwise, they don't really have anything to do with one another. So, great movie. Really just about this school for girls, this Catholic school for girls, and all the young ladies who come there to learn, and just the kind of rebelliousness of them. A lot of them getting in trouble. Hayley Mills is kind of like the bad girl of the school. She's the one always getting in trouble and getting other people in trouble. And she befriends this girl who they become like best buds, and they're both like trying to break out of school and get out of there and trying to get kicked out. They want nothing to do with it. But the moral of the story is that Hayley Mills in the end decides only two girls decide to actually stay in the school and basically learn how to become nuns. And it's this other girl who they kind of goody two shoes girl. They're like, okay, we knew she was gonna do it. And then they're like, and they name Hayley Mills' character, and everybody's like, what? And her friends all pissed because think she was brainwashed and whatnot. But basically, Hayley Mills comes to realize that who these people are. She just thinks the nuns are like awful, mean people, backwards, and blah, blah, blah. Then comes to realize that they're very kind-hearted, loving people who, have feelings and emotions. And they're just like everybody else. They're just trying to, kind of do things their way. And, again, very kind, like to help people and have, a great heart and everything like that. And Hayley Mills comes to kind of realize that and decides to join in on it and become a nun. So it's a great story. I really liked it. I would highly recommend The Trouble with Angels and Where Angels Go, Trouble Follows. Again, maybe I'm a little bit biased, as a lot of it was shot in the area, and it's really cool to see a lot of stuff that was shot in the area. I think that's pretty neat. But honestly, I think they're pretty decent movies for what they are. So I'd recommend checking out both of them. Decent movies. I love this one as well, and I'll be watching them again sometime. I actually can see myself rewatching both movies. I like them that much, so check them out. All right, then a weird one. Welcome to Woop Woop. So I was really intrigued by this movie when I was watching, I can't remember what I was watching. I think I was watching another VHS tape, and they had a trailer for this movie, and I was like, that is crazy, I gotta check it out. Come to realize it's only been released on DVD here in the States, and when I came across the VHS, I had to grab it and check it out, see what this crazy movie is about, and it was pretty crazy. This guy ends up going to Australia to basically get these birds. Meets this girl, ends up having a bit of a fling with her, and turns out like she's part of this like crazy community of like this outback redneck community. They live in like this big like crater, and nobody bothers them. Government doesn't bother them. Like they're kind of just forgotten about. They kind of do their own thing and kind of govern themselves. And she ends up, you think like, they're falling in love and everything like that. And then she ends up just going crazy and knocking her over the head and dragging him back to the community. And now he's stuck there because the guy who runs the community is like, nobody can ever leave Woop Woop. You're all stuck here. You all have to stay here. And now he's kind of stuck. Otherwise he's going to get shot, because somebody actually does try to escape in the movie and get shot. So he realizes he's stuck here, and it's all about him kind of trying to escape and trying to also like come to terms with the community and what's going on, and it's against just this crazy story. And it's kind of a shame. I kept thinking it's kind of a shame what's happening to this guy, because it seems so nice. Like, he met this girl and he seemed to really like her. Maybe things are going to go well, and then she ends up being crazy, like her dad who runs Woop Woop. Ends up turning out that her sister actually is kind of the sane one, and they end up trying to escape together. Whether or not they do or not, I won't necessarily give it away, but they try to escape together. And insane story. Sort of. Do I want to say it's like? I don't want to say exploitation. I guess kind of ish. It kind of has that feel. It's kind of, it's kind of a sort of low budget, wild, crazy Australian film. So maybe you could see exploitation. So I enjoyed it. It was a crazy one. If you want to see a really crazy, just off the wall, what am I watching type of movie, check this one out. It definitely has that kind of like early 90s, or say mid 90s, right? Yeah, mid 90s, just like insane movie feel. I'm sure you've seen something like that, like Meet the Deedles and Tank Girl and stuff like that. There's kind of like crazy, bizarre sort of movies from like the mid 90s. Kind of fits in that range. So welcome to Woop Woop. Check it out. It's a fun movie. Then I watched Marooned on beautiful Laserdisc here. You might remember I just picked up Marooned on Laserdisc on VHS. I completely forgot I had it on Laserdisc, so I put my VHS copy I bought by accident because I didn't check my Laserdisc. I made a mistake. I don't have this movie, and I completely forgot to check my Laserdisc database to see if I had it, and apparently I did. So I was like, all right, I bought it twice now. I should probably watch it, and it fits in that genre of disaster films from this time period, like Poseidon Adventure, Airplane, Towering Inferno, movies like that. The thing is, those other movies I just named are much more exciting. I felt this movie, the main problem with it is it was really, really slow. It never had any, it had a few tense moments, but it's not like a movie like in the Towering Inferno or, Poseidon Adventure. I love the Poseidon Adventure. That movie is so good, and it's very tense, has some great scenes in it. It's a classic. Like, probably my favorite of, like, the disaster films from that time period. I love the Poseidon Adventure, and I also grew up watching it, so maybe I'm a little biased again, but it's a great movie. So I thought Marooned was a little, it just dragged on a bit. It was slow. There wasn't enough suspense. Scenes just were very slow. There's people in space, and that's the whole thing. It's that, there's people staying in space to do this experiment on like how long they can stay there, and their rocket to like fire them back into orbit and get them back home doesn't work. So now they're stuck there. And of course, this is back in the days where a rescue wasn't really something they could do. So they basically were like, trying to figure out ways to get them back down. What are we going to do? They're up there. Can we get them? Are they just kind of screwed? And basically throwing together this last minute kind of, no chance in hell this is going to work, but it's kind of the only chance we have plan to go up and rescue them. And they end up sort of pulling it off, but not completely. So it's an interesting movie. Definitely takes some liberties. I don't think NASA or anybody like that must have been involved in this movie, simply because there's a lot of stuff that didn't really seem to make sense. Like the one astronaut who suit tears and see, now I'm ruining stuff. Spoiler. One of the astronauts suit tears, dies. he didn't have to like float off into space. They could have brought his body back home. The rescue capsule they set up could hold 4 people. They could have brought his body back for like a burial. They could have done that. Of course, rockets burning in space and you're hearing it's space. There's no freaking sound, and so on and so forth. There's all kinds of stuff where nowadays most people with like just a slight knowledge of space would be like, that's not how that works. But regardless, it was definitely interesting. It's got a really good cast too, so that's always good. But again, in my opinion, it was just slow. It just lagged on. There wasn't enough suspense. There were some suspenseful moments, but not enough to make me like on the edge of my seat, like, are these people getting home? It wasn't like, Gravity or The Martian or something like that, which I guess you could compare it to space disaster movies, or even Apollo 13 or something like that. It's not like those movies that have you on the edge of your seat and really grip you and are very suspenseful. This movie, space disaster film that just kind of lags on and doesn't really go anywhere. So would I recommend it? I'd say if you're a big fan of like the disaster films from this time period, check it out. You might like it, but I'd say so far out of all of the films I've seen from that disaster films I've seen from this time period, sort of the weakest. So it was all right. Then I had to check out, simply based on the fact that so many of you guys were saying this was such a bad movie, All About Steve. So I had to see why was this so bad. Apparently, Sandra Bullock won like a Razzie for this movie, and in that same year won like was she win like an Oscar or something for The Blind Side or something like that. I forget. Some of you guys were leaving comments telling me about that. So I was like, all right, let's see how bad this movie is. And in the end, I didn't think it was necessarily a bad film. I didn't even think Sandra Bullock was like bad in the film. It just was kind of just a meh sort of movie that didn't really go anywhere. Sandra Bullock plays this character where she's kind of, I'd say, socially awkward. She's not like mentally retarded or mentally handicapped. I guess that's not PC of me to say. Mentally handicapped and or anything like that. But she's definitely socially awkward. She seems like she's all there. She's actually very, very smart. That's one of the things. She's very, 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 very smart, but very socially awkward. She has had sex. Wants to have sex. She mentions that in there. She's had boyfriends. She has a job. She does all this stuff. But she doesn't quite get the concept of, hanging out and making friends, and she's just kind of awkward and weird when it comes to that kind of stuff. So she meets our Steve character here and kind of really starts to like him, like immediately likes him, and then gets this crazy idea in her head that he wants her to come along with him on this trip, when in reality he was just trying to be nice and get her out of the van, because at this point he's like, this lady's completely crazy. And she even writes this, she does crossword puzzles for a newspaper, because again, she's like super smart and can make these crazy awesome crossword puzzles. And she makes this one all about Steve, like Steve's eye color, Steve's favorite, this, and then and nobody, of course, it's ridiculous because nobody knows what these things are, and she gets fired from it. So the whole movie is her basically sort of stalking this Steve character, but at the same time not realizing that she is stalking, if that makes sense, and just the craziness that ensues. My idea of why people did not like this movie and why it flopped so much and why so many people hated it was, I think, because of the ending. And again, spoiler here for you guys. Sandra Bullock and Bradley Cooper, Steve, they do not get together. You think that that's going to happen because Steve starts to I won't say have feelings for her, but starts to appreciate her more, realize that she's a person, she's a good person, she's not crazy, she's just kind of socially awkward, and but deep down she's a really good person, and he shouldn't be hating on her so much, and he shouldn't be trying to push her away, and whatnot. He doesn't necessarily want to be with her, but she's not a bad person. And at that point you kind of think, well, maybe he's starting to get some feelings for her, but in the end they don't get together. And it kind of makes the movie seem like a little weird at the end, because if they're playing this off like it's going to be a romantic comedy, and it ends up not being a romantic comedy. It ends up just being a comedy, and in the end, there's like very little in the way of any romance whatsoever. And I think maybe that's why some people hated this movie, was the fact that they were expecting a traditional romantic comedy. Girl falls in love with guy. Guy's like, no, get away from me. Girl stalks guy, and then at the end they go, oh, we love each other and we're going to spend the rest of our lives together and be happy. That doesn't happen at the end. I think that's maybe why people were upset by this. Maybe Sandra Bullock's character was also a little too weird for people, but in the end, I think it was an absolutely horrible movie. For some people saying this is like the worst movie they've ever seen, and they just hated it. It was awful, and Sandra Bullock got a Razzie and stuff. I'm thinking, I've certainly seen worse movies than this. I didn't even think the movie was bad. I would say if it's something you want to see, check it out. It's one of those movies that I'm definitely going to say, if you want to see it, check it out. There's no reason not to watch it. It wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't a great movie. Will I ever watch it again? Probably not, but I could see if my wife or something was like, hey, I want to check that movie out. I would see it again. It's just nothing that I necessarily would choose to watch again, but it wasn't horrible. I didn't think it was the worst movie ever. Just not memorable. And then I checked out the Peanuts movie, and I was really excited to watch this one. Kind of curious how they're going to do this ever since I saw the first trailer for it. I'm like, a 3D animated, 3D CGI animated Peanuts movie. Okay. Ends up being awesome. It really had that Peanuts feel. But if you watch the kind of like making of behind it, they were really, really going for that. Like, Schultz's wife was, not going to basically allow this movie to not be a traditional Peanuts film. It had to have that feeling, that look, it had to be Peanuts, and it definitely was. It was a great story. If you're a Peanuts fan, if you like the comics, if you like the shorts, if you like the movies, this is one to see. You're gonna love it. And they did a surprisingly amazing job of taking these characters used to seeing in 2D and making them 3D. It works surprisingly really well. And again, they talk about that. I recommend watching the making of the movies, the special feature. They do talk about that and how they, had to basically, I think they designed like a new program and stuff to do it because it's just not the same as they would normally, do 3D CGI animation. They had to do it completely different to get that look and that feel. And again, I think they did a fantastic job. So really great story. If you are a fan of Peanuts, I don't see any reason why you're not going to like this. It had that great Peanuts feeling. Fantastic movie. Peanuts fans, check this one out. It was actually really good. Then I had to, as you guys know, I got a CBHD player, a China Blue high definition player. So excited about that, and had to take it for a test run. So first up, I watched Yes Man. Yeah, that's right, on CBHD. Look at that. I love it. So I've seen this movie before. This is my second time now watching this movie, and it's a decent Jim Carrey movie. He plays this guy who he kind of says no to everything and whatnot, and his wife left him, and he's just kind of down and out, and doesn't really kind of blows off his friends, and just becomes a shut-in basically. And he meets an old friend who's doing this kind of like seminar thing, this yes seminar. And basically the whole thing of the seminar is you have to say yes to everything. So he starts doing it, and things look like they're going really bad. He says yes, and this bad thing happens. He says yes, and that bad thing happens. But then all that ends up leading into like one really awesome thing. So he starts realizing that, okay, even though I'm saying yes to all these things that end up kind of working out bad, in the end, they come out in this roundabout way where it ends up something awesome happens. That is until it just kind of starts to backfire. It gets to the point where, all those bad things catch up to him, and it stops working the way he wants it to. And ends up, of course, realizing that, the seminar, basically, you got to say yes to everything to begin with to get yourself kind of motivated into it. And then as you get going, then you can start saying no to things that you probably should be saying yes to. But interesting movie. You're just watching Jim Carrey basically say yes to everything. And this love story with Zooey Deschanel. And if you're like me, you love Zooey Deschanel. So got some eye candy in this movie. So, this story of him and this kind of love relationship with Zooey Deschanel. He's falling in love with her, but he's saying yes to everything, and she ends up finding out he's doing this program, and she doesn't know what to make of it, and blah, blah, blah. Decent Jim Carrey movie. If you like Jim Carrey films, check it out. And then I watched, for, I believe, also my second time, Speed Racer. This is a fun movie. It's has that Speed Racer feel. I think they did a pretty decent job of catching the feel of the original anime, I suppose. And it's just an interesting story of Speed Racer and him having to win this race, and these sponsors coming in and trying to take him, and his family, and him kind of go against his family to do what he has to do basically, and his brother, how he was involved. And I won't spoil that ending for you, but you do kind of see it coming. But interesting movie. What really makes this one fun is the visual effects. There are so many great colors. This is a high definition movie. If you've only ever seen this movie on DVD, do yourself a favor, check it out in high definition. Get yourself a copy on Blu-ray or CBHD. Was it released on HDVD? It might have been. I might have a copy of it. I forget. But it looks fantastic in high definition because all the bright colors and just everything's so cartoony and awesome looking. I mean, this movie is just beautiful. And this is the one I was really testing out. Like, when I got Yes Man, I was like, I haven't seen Yes Man in a while. I want to rewatch it, and that's what I watched. But I was like, all right, this is the one that's going to put my CBHD player through the paces. I really want to watch this to see just how good it looks. And CBHD is definitely 1080p. Looks just as good as a Blu-ray. So, the movie's fun. I would check it out. If you're a Speed Racer fan, it's definitely worth checking out. It's an interesting movie, and very cool. I really did enjoy that one. Then I can't believe the movie I hadn't seen. That is Trouble with the Curve. I picked this one up a little bit ago, and I completely forgot I even had it. I was like, what should I watch today? And I looked over, I saw this, and I was like, I haven't watched it yet. What am I thinking? So checked it out. Another fantastic movie. All about, it's Clint Eastwood. He plays this, he's a talent scout for a baseball team. And he's kind of starting to show his age, his eyesight's going, like everything's kind of going and whatnot. But he still kind of has the gift, but they're kind of like thinking about phasing him out because he is getting old. They're looking to do basically all that scouting with computers and whatnot. And excuse me, John Goodman, who kind of plays like the guy who's in charge of like basically he's in charge of like recruiting. So I guess he's sort of Clint Eastwood's boss, but also his friend, basically causes his sister Amy Adams to help. Basically, like, you know what you're doing, baseball and everything like that. Just go with your dad on this trip and help him out, for this one last time. Otherwise, he's gonna get fired. So she does it. She goes reluctantly because she has this big job coming up and whatnot. This big review coming up, and she's gonna get screwed. She doesn't go to it, and she's trying to do both jobs at the same time, and it's not going well. And it's just this great story of like this father-daughter story where they were very distant from each other. The father kind of pushed her away after the mother died, and you end up finding out why that happened. It wasn't necessarily for the best reason, but he thought he was doing right. And of course, Justin Timberlake comes in to create some like romance as well. So very interesting story, very cool. You don't have to be a sports fan to like this one because the story's just good in and of itself. I mean, I feel that way a lot with sports movies, but this one is basically a father-daughter relationship story based around baseball. So again, if you're not a sports fan, if you have no interest in baseball whatsoever, which I don't know, maybe it's just baseball, but if you have no interest in baseball whatsoever, it doesn't matter. If you're not a fan of sports movies, doesn't really matter because this movie's not about sports. It just the sport of baseball is what ties everything together. It's the glue for the movie, but it's not what the actual plot's about. So Trouble with the Curb, definitely one to check it. I really enjoyed it. I thought the story was great. Again, the whole father-daughter dynamic thing worked out fantastic. And Justin Timberlake was great in it as well. So, very cool. Definitely see this one. Then a bit of a spoiler here, because I haven't even told you guys I bought this movie yet. I watched The Sheik. Yes, all about the Iron Sheik, the old wrestler. I remember watching it back in the days of WWF. Interesting, this isn't a WWF documentary, so they actually can use the term WWF. Have you ever noticed that? For those of you who've ever watched a documentary on the WWF, they don't say I guess it had something to do with when the World Wildlife Federation, they had that lawsuit and stuff. They can't, they blur it out a lot of times. In the documentaries, if there's WWF logo, it's blurred out. Even though they're talking about the WWF time period of wrestling, they still call it WWE. I think that's stupid. I don't know what, somehow something must have, really dumb happened when they had to change their name and the whole lawsuit happened and whatnot. They should have, made some deal where it's okay, we're no longer going to call us the WWF because whatever, but, if we're going to talk about the past, we were the WWF back then. We should still, that's before the lawsuit. We should be able to use the name to talk and the logo to talk about what was. Obviously, we can't talk, we're not going to use that title to talk about that name for now, but why can't we talk about that's what it was? So I like in this one, they actually say WWF a lot. That was interesting. So, movie all about his life, how he came to be. In fact, I didn't even realize he was actually... what was he from? I don't want to get the country wrong. It is Iran, wasn't it? If I'm not, I swear to God, I hope I'm not. Of course, why would it say on the back? That would only make sense. Yeah, I believe it's Iran. Yes, left Iran. Thank you. God, I'm like, am I getting the country wrong over there? I'm gonna look like an idiot. So, I didn't actually realize he was from Iran. Watching him as a kid, I just thought it was a dude. Like, I mean, I knew wrestling was fake back then. I always just thought it was a dude just kind of playing up the character. I didn't actually realize he was from there. I mean, he wasn't a Sheik, obviously, but he was from there, and he was like a bodyguard to um to some like prince or something like that. Like, it was crazy. He was in he was in the Olympics and taught the United States like a Olympic like wrestling team, and just crazy. I didn't know he was like this big thing before he became a wrestler. Again, from being this big wrestling star in Iran to then teaching and coaching the U.S. Olympic team and whatnot, and then going into wrestling. It was absolutely crazy. So interesting to learn about him and where he came from, and his whole life up into wrestling, and then of course learning about his wrestling career, and then his horrible downward spiral. He got into doing some drugs, and that wasn't too good. Ended up getting fired from the WWF because him and his arch nemesis, who he was supposed to be wrestling against, they were riding together in a car and got pulled over, and they had drugs, and of course it became this big thing because back then, that was still back when, like, is wrestling fake? We don't know. I don't know how people never knew that, but it was kind of like, breaking news, like, oh, these two arch enemies are like buddies and doing drugs together. Wasn't too good, so Vince McMahon was like out, so he got screwed then, had to do like these little tiny like wrestling circuit, like in the independent wrestling circuit, and got hooked on some drugs, and his wife left him for a little while, then he got off the drugs. But just watching even him now, it's like I at the end of this movie, I wasn't left feeling like, oh, things are looking up for him. I was kind of like, I don't think things are getting all that better. Yeah, he might not be doing like drugs so much, but I don't know if his life's really all that better. It still seems kind of like crappy. I don't know, but whatever. He's holding on to the Iron Sheik, and I guess doing well with it. I kind of felt bad also because he's got this guy who I'm assuming put this movie together. I don't even know. I forget his name. Screenplay by Igel Heitch. I wouldn't be surprised if that was him. His name's on here a lot. But he kind of basically contacted him and was like, oh, let's put you on Twitter, and let's put you on YouTube, and let's do all this, and let's do that. And I feel like he's just trying to make money off him. Like, I was left with the feeling that he didn't really care about the Iron Sheik as much as he cared about, this down and out wrestler. I can make some money off him. I kind of felt that was what's sort of going on. Even with the movie and all the stuff he's doing, it's kind of just like, I felt like that was kind of shady and kind of weird. And there was a scene where, like, he was talking about, oh, you gotta get off the drugs, and the Iron Sheik's like yelling at him and stuff and saying, like, I need him, and then he's like, well, I guess he needs him. And I'm like, what? Like, you don't seem, I don't know, it just didn't seem like a true friend. So I felt kind of like, I kind of felt bad for the Iron Sheik about this guy. Kind of like, it felt like he was using him. So I don't know, interesting movie though, definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of just old WWF wrestling, at least a time period of wrestling like from the late 80s, early 90s that I was a big fan of. Definitely worth checking out because, again, I remember the Iron Sheik wrestling back in the day. It was fun, and something to check out if you're a wrestling fan. Decent documentary, maybe not as good as some of the WWF documentaries I've seen, but still a good one, and we're checking out. All right, then, Serious Moonlight. This is an alright movie. Meg Ryan, she, kind of independent woman, her and husband not doing so well, and goes to their vacation house, and she gets there, and there's roses and all kinds of stuff. Turns out her husband was setting that up for another woman who he's going to Paris with, and wrote a note to Meg Ryan saying that, I'm leaving you, but she got there early, so she kind of caught him, and she kind of just goes like crazy and decides to tie him up and kind of keep him captive in the idea of making him realize that he's still in love with her, which obviously is completely crazy. And that's the whole story, is her trying to basically convince him that, no, you still love me. We're going to work this out and whatnot. But then you get this other crazy sort of comes in where they're getting robbed. And this whole robbery happens. Meg Ryan gets knocked down at one point. And they're not sure if they're going to live or die. And the girlfriend comes back and they don't know what's going on. And, are they going to reconcile their marriage? Or does he want to get back with or does he want to stay with the girlfriend, and what's going to happen? And spoiler, I do apologize, but they do end up reconciling and getting their marriage back on track. and having a baby together. I don't know if it was actually a real baby or if they adopted. They mentioned that Meg Ryan couldn't have a kid, like, or she was having trouble having a kid, but they were thinking about adopting. I don't think they mentioned whether it was adopted kid or not. But either way, they have a kid, and at the very end, the guy who robbed the house, they walk by and Meg Ryan and make eye contact and kind of say, hey. And it kind of leads you to believe that maybe she had set the whole robbery up just to help make him fall back in love with Meg Ryan and make their marriage come back together, make them fall back in love. And it's like this crazy whole story of like, what did she actually like do? Like what crazy steps does he take to make this work and to make the marriage work? And it's pretty insane. So it's okay. I wasn't blown away by this. I would say it's a mediocre film, but again, it's one of those films I'd say if you want to see it, check it out. It wasn't bad. It's just nothing amazing. All right, and then last up here, just actually watched this. I watched Rock the Kasbah. Really wanted to see this movie. It looks very interesting, and especially when I found out it was based on a true story, loosely based on a true story. I hear it's very fictionalized, and I don't remember her last name. It's Sitar something, and I know it's this crazy name that I will never be able to pronounce. She was from Afghanistan, and they had what was it? It was an Afghan Idol or something like that. I'm trying to think if they have the name on back here. It was like Afghan Idol or something like that. Basically like an American Idol, and she basically kind of went against her religion and goes up onto this stage and takes her that I don't know the names of all this stuff. I'm sorry, I'm not religious. Takes that covering off and she sings and she's dancing a bit on stage, and goes very much against her religion. Of course, people like flip out in her country and there's death threats and all this stuff. And this whole movie's about Bill Murray's character, this talent agent, going over to Afghanistan to do the kind of like a USO tour, but Zooey Deschanel, who he brought over there, leaves and kind of leaves him high and dry, takes the passport, money, takes all this stuff. Now he's stuck there. Like, what's he going to do? And he gets caught up in this kind of craziness, selling these bullets to these people. But then while he's there, overnight he hears this girl singing and realizes, like, wow, she's got a great voice. Maybe I can get her on this show. And kind of concocts this whole big crazy plan to get her on the show, which is insane because, he can get shot. She can get shot. Like horrible stuff's going to happen because it goes completely against the religion, and it's not going to be good. But he ends up getting her on. Very difficult to do, but he ends up getting her on, and she sings, and she ends up like winning this part of the contest. Apparently, in the actual real life, she made it to I think the top 4 contestants or something like that, and then ended up getting voted off, unfortunately, which is really sad. It would have been great if she actually won in real life. But interesting story that, again, is based on a true story, very fictionalized, but still based on an interesting true story. I recommend reading up on the true story because I read up on it, and I was like, wow, I didn't know a lot about this. So, great. I would recommend this one. It's a really fun story. Bruce Willis is in it. That's always fun, too. He plays a fun character. So, yeah, just interesting watching Bill Murray over in Afghanistan, during all this horrible bombings and all kinds of crazy stuff going on over there, and him finding this girl. Instead of deciding to go home, he decides maybe I can make a star out of her, and what he has to go through to do all that. And then you go on the internet and you read the true story, and you're like, wow, that was a lot more depressing. So definitely worth checking out. Fun movie, like I said, fictionalized, not so true to the actual story. The actual story is a bit more depressing, but worth checking out nevertheless. Bill Murray was great. I've been loving his roles recently, so Rock the Kasbah, worth checking out. So there you go, guys. That was it. That is everything I've recently watched. A lot of good stuff. Pretty much recommend everything. Like I said, All About Steve. All About Steve and Serious Moonlight are 2 movies I would say if you really want to check them out. They're not horrible. Watch them, but they're definitely nothing you need to see. Rock the Kasbah, The Sheik, Trouble with the Curve, Speed Racer, Yes Man, Peanuts, all good movies. Marooned, if you like disaster films, we're checking out, but a little slow. Welcome to Woop, if you like just crazy mid-90s movies, we're seeing. And Trouble with Angels, I loved it. It's not going to be for everybody, but I thought it was great. So All right, there you go. That's it. So, like I always say, guys, thank you so much for checking this video out. Be sure to hit that like button down below. If you're not already subscribed, I do a brand new video every single day. So hit that subscribe button, and you will see a video every day, I assure you. And also, if you want to grab yourself a Cinema Sickness t-shirt, hat, buttons, hoodies, tank tops, all kinds of cool Cinema Sickness gear for both boys and girls, head over to cinemasickness.spreadshirt.com where you can get yourself some of that. And also, if you want to support these daily videos and keep these daily videos coming, head over to patreon.com/Cinema Sickness where you can become a patron. Show your support. Any tiny little bit helps and is very much greatly appreciated. So, all right, guys, that's it. Have a great one, and I will see you all tomorrow. See you then. Bye.